Hello, listeners. Earlier in the week, in my weekly buzz, I alluded to the fact that we are going to introduce another playlist topic, another show channel, and I'm very excited to welcome Allan McLennan in the studio today. Allan, welcome here by us.
Yeah, this is crazy for me. I've never done something like this before, so thanks for inviting me.
It's a huge pleasure. Let me introduce you quickly. Listeners, Allan McLennan is a resident in Pennington, so we are very grateful to have someone from further south contributing to our regular programming from now on. He is a hobbyist birder, and we are introducing a birding segment as of next week. Allan, tell us a little bit about birding. How did you get involved in it?
Well, I have to say it was an accident, actually, the way that initially. I was in the Defence Force for many years before I joined Clover. I've been at Clover about 24 years. And one of the Sergeant Majors was really involved in birding, and we played golf together, and he tried to get me to go birding. And then one day I just get him off my back. I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go birding. And he took me to a place, I still remember it was down at Mshlonga Rocks, down at where they do, I don't even know the right word it's called now. But anyway, sanitation area. And he started showing me birds and telling me, what do you think that is? And gave me the book. And I just led on from there, funny enough. And I started getting interested. Like I said earlier, when we were having a little chat, it was like, it's like going to the beach, you're looking for shells, and then suddenly you're seeing a shell, and I want to know more about that shell. And that's exactly what happened with me.
And this was, 37 years ago, you said?
Oh, my goodness, yeah. My son is was born in 83, so it was around that year, 1983. So that's 37 years ago, yeah.
So you're an amateur birder.
Oh, yes.
But listeners, I think that's exactly what we want. We don't want a scientific lecture, but we want someone who can chat with us on a regular basis about the birds that we see in our gardens and further afield, obviously, but in a way that we can understand and that can open up this hobby to us. And Allan, I must say, I've just realized what a huge fascination birds hold for people all over the world. What do you think it is that draws people so quickly and deeply into birds?
Well, I think at the end of the day, if I go anywhere and you see movement and you'll see birds, and if you've got a fascination for birds, then it starts piquing your interest. What were those birds? What are they? What's moving around there? I need to know. I need to find out. So I think at the end of the day, once you start knowing where the birds are and where they're coming from and where they're migrating to, and you start getting more involved with it, then you start noticing changes. Certain birds coming in the area that shouldn't be there, why are they here? And so you've got this fascination of finding more about what that bird is. But I think for me, if I may just go on a bit here, because I might be digressing, if I go to the Kruger National Park, for me, you go and park there, and there's so much more to see because you start looking at the birds, making a bird list. What type of birds is that? Oh my goodness, look at that. Didn't see that last time. And while you're sitting there, and it happens to me so often, every time I go to Kruger, people say, Allan, every time you go, you're so lucky. And it's not luck, it's just being interested in being out there all the time because you get fascinated with something different. I love animals, don't get me wrong. And you go and sit there, and suddenly you start watching the birds, and you know what? An animal will come out. And suddenly you start seeing more than you should. I could go on for hours. There's a lot of things that fascinate me about birds.
So I think if I listen to you, it sounds to me like a wonderful hobby, especially now. We know people are stressed. And from what you describe, it sounds to me like it's something that can really calm you. You can draw away. You can go with like-minded people if you are a curious mind, and learn what it is to go into nature and sit still and learn patience and just allow things to unfold in front of you. Maybe it's a kind of hobby that more people should consider.
Absolutely. I think my most peaceful times I get is when I'm in the bush or in the grasslands, walking around looking for birds, because you're doing something that you love and you just take in that nature, and most of the time you are in an area where it's peaceful and it's quiet, hopefully, and you can really enjoy that environment. And it's like fishing. I mean, if you enjoy fishing or angling, sometimes I'll go fishing not to catch fish, but just to be on the beach with a rod and a bait out there, or even spooning for something, and you get that peace or peacefulness, if I might say it. And to really look for birds, the best way to do it really is to stay in one spot. Sit quietly in a certain area where you hear there's movement, and you can just sit and relax, and 9 times out of 10 you'll see the movements and start picking up birds.
They sort of emerge
Absolutely
into your field of vision. Now, what could listeners expect from our birding segment going forward?
Oh my goodness, there's so many things. It'll take me a little time to list them all, but we've got all different types of birds. We've got what some people might call LBJs, little brown jobs, but that we can look at a little bit later. There's garden variety birds. There's endemic birds. When I say endemic, those are the birds that are true just to South Africa or Southern Africa. There's a few more when you're looking at Southern Africa. Looking at migrants, you're looking at the birding itself. We'll discuss things like binoculars. I mean, you can go look at a pair of binoculars, you have no idea what to buy, what's good for birding, and we can discuss those type of things, and bird lists, and really there's a lot of topics.
And because we're an internet-based radio station, obviously we do have listeners from all over the world, and part of our mission is to promote the Sapphire Coast as a tourism destination. So can listeners also expect to hear input from you about seasonal occurrences, so that you can know that, or in this particular area, you can expect to see this at this time of year, when travel opens again, obviously, that they can think and plan around birding tourism in terms of, when they should come to this part of South Africa to enjoy certain species.
No, absolutely. We can talk about the different seasons and what you expect to find in certain areas. And we'll talk about the different type of habitats, grasslands, Drakensberg, mountainous, and all the different type of regions and what you can find. And I think what will be really, really great is if, especially if people are coming from overseas and there's a certain type of variety or a bird that they're actually looking for, then we can guide them in the right tour or in the right direction to go and find that bird specifically. Because in certain areas, you'll only find them. I mean, if we look at the green tinkerbird, for example, and the only place they found is in the Ngoya forest near Mpangeni. So you'd go over there and look for that bird specifically.
That would be such a rare find for someone who's been waiting for that moment.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Sure. Yeah, and I think, especially for people that want to go and look for this bird, that it's now commonly known as green barbet, they can actually go to the Ngoya forest and actually find it.
Allan, thank you very much for popping in. It was great for us to get an opportunity to introduce you to our listeners, and we're looking forward to your bi-weekly birding segment that is going to play out here on Chat Sapphire. And we're already inviting listeners to either send in questions about things that they are curious about, or if they have photographs of birds that they wish to identify, that we start a dialogue as soon as possible. And Allan is very keen to receive your questions and your comments so that his own database of bird spotting incidents, can grow in that way. So thank you for joining us, and we'll hear from you soon.
No, great. Thanks very much for having me, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to it, because I absolutely love birding. I love birds. I love the things that bring around birds, because you start looking into birds and then suddenly you're looking at the trees, and then you're looking at the insects, and then you're starting looking at the butterflies. It invites you to so many new experiences, and I really want people to see that when they go somewhere. Don't just sort of look at the tree, look at the birds. You'll see the movement. As soon as you stop, you'll see, and then know what they are, but I'm really keen. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you, Allan.